moms and the dads and all that. And he went through it, and Dave printed me off that paperwork right there, and he got a little bit into the Xavion Current stuff. And Xavion's the one guy that I said of this small class that I think you look at realistically as like, okay, he's a starter next year.
I can see that,
What he's going to enroll in January, outside chance right now that you're replacing 4 out of 5 secondary players. Xavion's already 6'3", 205. He's a big boy. He's the second highest rated recruit behind Darius Gray.
He's got that alpha mentality.
Yeah, and he talked a little bit about that. But you knew that Xavion was good. Now, where I vary, and I think this is a great conversation, as we watch what transpires in the portal, and then we watch 2026 and how South Carolina plays out. We've watched Florida State do this, and we have other examples prior to South Carolina. But like I was saying during the show, and what I was hearing Shane saying, I got to go back and listen, because I think he straddled the line of what's important and what's not.
Mm-hmm.
High school recruiting is important, but as I said, Terry, there was a day and age where you took maybe a kid in state with that kid's understanding of, well, I need 3 years to develop. I got a red shirt. My red shirt freshman year, I'm probably not going to play. My red shirt sophomore year, I might get 15 snaps a game, and then, okay, my red shirt, boom, I'm ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at. Well, this day and age, you look at that kid and you're like, I can take you, or I can go get a third-year junior or, fourth-year junior out of the transfer portal who's been around the college program, who's ready to help me now. Whereas if I get you in, you get mad in a year and you go. You transfer, and I've wasted my time. And I said, let's be honest, we're being naive if they're not telling some players, hey, go to Georgia Southern, go to Georgia State, go to Charlotte, play a year or two, and then if you're performing, we'll check back with you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you worry. We'll come back to you. And we'd be naive if colleges across the South aren't doing that. They used to be, as you were doing this, and I don't know, in Baltimore where you've been, how much you covered recruiting, but as I was saying, it's my background and how I got into this industry. And I laugh, and I put on Twitter this morning the stories of I would travel with John Whittle and then Josh Lowe, who was with Gamecock Central, and I would travel with Wes and Chris, and all these great stories about us ending up at random Pizza Huts in tiny towns in the middle, random places trying to go, do we go here to follow this recruitment? Do we go here? And it's changed. It's changed so dramatically much now to where, Shane said, well, and there is a level of a backbone of recruiting high school players, but Terry, you recruit one guy, and he comes in and he doesn't like the culture, and all of a sudden he's gone through the recruiting process, which is like the program with the cheerleaders and the parties. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then he gets here and goes, wait a minute, the cheerleaders weren't here to meet me. Wait, y'all aren't having a party? This is not like it was. Mm-hmm. And they go, well, I want that experience again. Let me go transfer. Mm-hmm. So it's all changed, and I think it's easy, as Shane said, to say, well, that's the backbone of your team. But you can gut your team. Your team can be gutted in a heartbeat. So how you handle, and I was listening to Shane, and I think this is stuff that Tyler and I will go back into tomorrow. Poor Tyler's and Dave got 49 minutes of Kiowa talk and where Shane got commitments from Bridges and Luke Bryan concerts and everything, but of trying to decipher how you build a program. And it's evolving. You're not, let's be honest, you're not Alabama, you're not Ohio State, you're not the true blue bloods that can go out and recruit 5-star elite talent on the high school level and not take chances.
Sure.
So your chances come through the portal. And the one thing he did say that I addressed yesterday, talent's important. What we learned this year, leadership, and that speed dating aspect of it, he mentioned that leadership and what they look for, like they had in 2024 with a guy like Demetrius Knight, is going to be imperative to the 2026 team.
Yeah, I think that's something you can't ever assume. And I think maybe you assume that this guy's going to step up or that guy's going to step up, or you brought a guy in the portal. And the other thing, too, is the portal guys, you know how this goes, Bill. You can't be a leader if you stink.
Right.
If you're not bringing it on the field, you can't walk in the locker room and start bowing up, right? And I'll just use an example, and I'm trying to pick on a guy. Well, like I said, Boaz Stanley.
Boy, did we have the same name. Did we have the same name.
I don't know about you, but when you heard everything in the offseason, he's like Demetrius Knight. He's got a family. He's driving a minivan. He's going to Home Depot. And we're like, okay. But when you go on the field and don't break, Demetrius Knight brought it.
Right.
Boaz Stanley didn't bring it to that fashion, so how much of a leader can you be when you're getting benched? So the leadership thing was something that we all talked about to a little bit in the offseason, but we didn't realize that void was going to be what it ended up being. And I'll say this again. You don't lose 27-point leads at halftime if you got leaders. I'm just saying.
Well, you don't, what was it, 0-6 or 0-7 in games where you either had the lead in the fourth quarter or you were down a touchdown. You magically rear end backwards fall into a victory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The other team messes up.
Mm-hmm.
In 6 or 7 games, the other team throws a pick,
something,
fumbles,
right. Mm-hmm.
doesn't get a fourth down conversion, and none of that happened. And there's a part of that you go, well, last year, Missouri, Clemson, those went South Carolina's way. South Carolina easily could have been 7-5 last year in those ball games, and then they weren't. And things went your way. And this year, there's again, I now forget the number 6 or 7, where you essentially are sitting there in the fourth quarter, and that's now where you try to draw the line of, well, how close are we? Who's coming in that helps and changes that mentality? And he did address it. He addressed a little bit of the quarterback room situation. I know Shane is going to be ultra positive, and he made it sound like, hey, we're good in the quarterback room. Mm. Whereas it feels like all of us on the outside are going, you say that, but we heard your quarterback's comments on Saturday. Mm-hmm. We heard what he said about making the decision best for himself.
Mm-hmm. That's all he said right there. That was it.
And so you say you're good. We wonder if you are. And there's 49 minutes of what a coach needs to say, but the answer will not be revealed until the end of September next year when I did the math, by the way, and I was going to use this on the show. So I want to be clear about this, and this is important, especially after what we just watched this year with coaches being fired early in the season, okay? Coaches being fired early in the season, and then the fact that everybody was so ready on the Sunday after the season to hire somebody, right? Yeah. So everybody got ahead of the job. So that's now the new trend in college football. You don't get 12 games to save yourself. It's no longer November. So I looked last night. South Carolina's 9 conference games. All of them have cupcakes to start the season. Mm-hmm. Why do I say that? Because that now will mean that you will play Eastern Tennessee State or North Idaho College, whomever, in your opener, and then you're going to play Towson, and then you're going to play with a 1-bye week in there, 9 straight SEC games.
Yeah.
And the SEC has a funny way of handling South Carolina to where they may go, you go to Alabama to start. How do you feel about following that with Oklahoma? And then you're going to get Georgia to close out September. Like, there's some variables here that Shane's going to have to maneuver between portals and NILs and everything to get to September, whatever the last Saturday in September is.
Yeah, look, and I guess the one thing to look at, because this time last year, we're talking about, college football playoffs and all this other stuff, and now we're talking about a coach who, well, now you got to win or else. That's what this world is now, right, man. That's just the way it goes. Now, we saw Shane go from a 5-7 to a 9-3. You got to do something like that from a 4-8, because again, the guy that hired you is no longer sitting in that office. And again, you look at that schedule, and we know every SEC schedule is tough. I get it. But when you look at it and you start thinking about the numbers that are going to make everything make sense, there's a lot of work to do here, my friend.
Yeah, somebody asked me that yesterday, and I said, I think now every game is its on merit. 7-5, but you're not blown out. And do you beat Clemson? And do you see a future with the program? 2026, when we start to go deep into the weeds through this month of December and we get past some things, you know who goes on the clock this year? It's not Shane Beamer, actually. It's Jeremiah Donati.
Yeah.
It's truly Jeremiah Donati. All right, Jeremiah, we're watching your men's basketball program right now. We talked a little bit about that. I know you'll probably get into that a little bit today. Yeah. Some of the comments from Lamont last night are you just like, that's true. And the coach, you know this, you play basketball, you're a basketball guy. Coach can't get out there and handle the ball in the last 10 seconds.
No.
Coach doesn't go 8 for 30 on a team that's supposed to from three-point range. Coach doesn't have a three-point shooter who's under 30% for the season, shooting 9 threes.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
But it's going to start with likely a Lamont Paris thing if we're being dead honest and we're watching. And then it's going to go to a Pulmonary thing. And then it's going to go to a Shane Beamer thing. And so, yeah, Beamer, obviously, that seat's not warm. Jeremiah Donati, though, the 2026 is the year of Jeremiah Donati.
It might be. Well, here's the other part of that. While we're being real, in a rev share world, you have 3 coaches on a hot seat. Hey, how much money you got in your wallet there, Bill Gunner?
Not enough to cover one buyout, let me tell you.
But you know where my point's going.
That's exactly right.
With the
Somebody's getting saved.
Yes, somebody's going to get another. Is it going to get another year? Because
If they all have bad seasons.
Yes.
So hopefully Jeremiah Donati has, maybe Lamont Paris goes 12-6 in SEC play there in the tournament.
Oh,
we go,
sure.
"Poof, no problem. Paul Neri's been fantastic. And
Shane does another flip from 1 year to a good year.
And next year we get to do what I offer. It's like, hey, guys, we're going to take a day off, pick the 5 best Carolina games of the year that you want to re-listen to, and we're going to play that all day.
We're going to do that.
Not doing that this year. You got to talk for all month. So.
Hey, man, I appreciate you hanging in for a segment, my friend.
No problem. See you tomorrow.
All right,
buddy.
we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Bye.
Our buddy Bill Gunner giving us his thoughts on Shane's early signing day presser. Yes, it's a look. There's a lot here. There's a lot, and you know, again, a lot of unknowns here. Offensive coordinator wasn't even brought up today. Yeah, an offensive coordinator hire that's the biggest hire you've ever made as a head coach. That's coming. You've got your quarterback. Is he going to come back or go to the NFL draft? You know, your best defensive player. What's he going to do? Is he coming back for another year? Portal ins, portal outs. You got a lot. I mean, and your defensive coordinator's being sniffed around possible group of 5 gigs as a head coach. There's a lot, man. Shane, good luck to you, my man. We're pulling for you. It's going to be an interesting next couple of months here in Columbia. All right. Jay Phillips, we'll talk to our buddy Jay on the road. He was going to be talking to us next, and we'll get Jay's thoughts on early signing day 2025 next. It is the postgame show. Terry Ford, Kale Sear pushing the buttons. We'll talk to Jay here in just a second. We go till 6 on the game. CHW Cabinetry, our buddy Star and her team. If you need cabinets and anywhere in the home, inside, outside, CHW Cabinetry will hook you up and take care of you. What they do is photorealistic renderings. What happens is from beginning to end, you get to see right in front of your face this process play itself out at CHW Cabinetry. And they will be with you from beginning to end. The customer service, second to none. 803-520-6837. Just go online. I'm looking at the website right now. Just looking at the cabinetry. It's just craziness. Pick a room. Pick a spot in a room. CHW Cabinetry makes it happen for you. So make that phone call. Set up just an appointment and tell them what you want to do in your budget, and they'll make it happen for you. 803-805-7146. CHW Cabinetry. Make that call. Get yourself ready to roll. Cabinets anywhere in the home. Early signing day 2025. Shane Beamer talking to the media here just a little while ago. I went almost an hour talking about a variety of things with recruiting. Did not get an OC question from what I've been told, so that was interesting. Let's get our co-host, our buddy, our pal, our compadre, our amigo, Jay Phillips in here. I can't think of any other words. You got any more besides those? I'm out.
No, you can put all kinds of labels on me that you want. I think he did get one OC question, but said basically it was going well, and that a potential OC was also having a signing day today, so that he didn't have a lot of other things to say about that. So there was a little bit on it, but not enough to really lead us to speculate on who the next OC might be.
And like we've said, just get it right. Whatever the timeline is, get it right.
Yeah, and I think that has a lot to do with this Landon Duckworth situation, which I know has a lot of Gamecock fans concerned today, and I get it. At the same time, I think you have to put yourself in the mindset of Landon Duckworth right now. If you already had a good rapport with Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss, and yet still felt comfortable with South Carolina and their direction, and now you don't, and you maybe even see a more elevated opportunity for you with Coach Kiffin and Coach Weiss. I'm not saying it's an easy choice, because I think from everything I've been told about Landon, he really likes Shane, he really likes Carolina, he really likes Columbia. But, I mean, Terry, I get it. You know, if the kid does indeed move on to LSU, I get it. It's not going to be pretty for Carolina fans, but it shouldn't be much of a shock either, considering where Carolina football is and the unknown of the OC. Now, maybe Shane can sell Landon and his family on, hey, I've got a guy, want you to talk to him. It's going to be great. We're gonna fix this, and everything moves on swimmingly. But there's a lot more certainty right now at LSU. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and that's where I think I was kind of focused on it. Put yourself in the seat of Landon Duckworth for a minute. Right now, you look at LSU, you know Lane Kiffin, you know his background with quarterbacks and offense and his resume with him and Charlie Weiss Jr. You see what they've done at Ole Miss. And you see Lane Kiffin has Jackson Dart was a first-round pick in the NFL draft. Carroll was drafted as well. You saw what he did with a kid from Division II, for the love of God.
Yeah.
And then you look at South Carolina, and right now you got a big question mark with the offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, all those things. And as much as I'm sure, and I think you nailed it with what Shane would be saying, look, Landon, trust me, relax. This is where we're going. This is our ideas, with offensive coordinator. It might even be, hey, you want to talk to the couple of the candidates we have? Feel free. I'd love to do that for you, because I'm sure they're open to it. But at the end of the day, you see the known, and maybe you're leaning more toward the known than taking a chance on the unknown. That's nothing against South Carolina or Shane Beamer. Everybody's got to look at what's best for themselves, and if you're a quarterback, that's the thing that's got to be going through your head right now, Jay. It's just human nature.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Again, for Carolina, I hope the kid stays committed.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be surprised, nor am I really going to find any major fault or flaw with the process. It's the unfortunate reality for Carolina relative to the, again, very stable, exciting new reality for Lane Kiffin and LSU.
Yeah, and so, everybody else in the class, I believe so far, except a couple others, have already signed up, and they're supposed to be doing it. The only one it feels like right now that you're really teetering on is Duckworth. But again, until everybody signs, Jay, you never know. You just don't.
Yeah, there's a couple that I think they're having one ceremony later today, and forgive me, I don't have my notes in front of me. I think there's one ceremony shortly, and then one more tomorrow. So maybe those kids are waiting to officially announce, just to have their moment.
Yep.
Before they put pen to paper officially. So I don't know. For what it sounds like, I think Chris and Wes, and I think you're going to have those guys on a little bit later on, it didn't sound like there was much of a concern there, as much as just they wanted their opportunity in front of friends and family and the school and all that kind of stuff.
Yep, so South Carolina right now still a top 20 class, which puts you like, in the top 10 in the SEC. I think I was talking about it yesterday. Coming into today, and everything's always fluid, the On3 industry rankings, out of the top 30 recruiting classes, 15 of them are from the SEC. That's insane, but that's the way it is, man.
Yeah, and I think you told me that before they officially knew that the kid at Vandy, Curtis, had switched. So
Yeah.
I wonder if that vaults Vandy's class up there too.
Yeah, we'll see how far. I think last time I looked, Vandy was right around 70-ish. But you get the number 3 ranked recruit in the country, the number 1 ranked quarterback, that should shoot you up a bit, right? Maybe not the top 30, but should shoot you up.
It's surprising that Vandy's that low and Kentucky's not, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, and it is, right? Because, look, Mark Stoops is never known as a flashy wow recruiter in the first place. But where Kentucky is at right now as a program, yeah, you are kind of surprised that they're not lower in the recruiting chain. You really are. But, I mean, we'll see where that goes moving forward with Will Stein, because now you're bringing in a different kind of coach, different kind of personality, different kind of style, a guy that's, I guess, in his U-Haul is exciting offense, right?
Yeah. And I think, this comes back to the point I made yesterday about Will Stein going to Kentucky and about the added pressure if there is an ability. And again, some people, I think, really said no, it doesn't add any pressure to Shane because the pressure cooker's got the steam all pouring out through it already. I don't think they can hold any more pressure. But just in terms of getting this right. But now, Terry, yesterday there's a move by Kentucky to add one of the bright young offensive minds in college football as their head coach. And then again today, the Duckworth situation. It just further illustrates what Carolina's got going on. And I don't want to say how difficult the job, but just how, again, pressurized this is for Shane to get right.
Yeah, and we look at the quarterback situation, and let's say Lenore Sellers does move on and roll off to the NFL draft. You got Cutter Woods, who's unproven. Aaron Nolan's unproven. Even if he would get Duckworth, also unproven. And you're going into a very important year in your coaching career and the tenure of the program. That screams go get a portal veteran, doesn't it?
It does, and I think they probably will. I don't know that yet, but it's not going to. I think a lot centers on Lenoris, obviously. But I think it's the prudent move to go get somebody regardless. Just like when you went out and got Ashford last season, I think it's just good for your program. And in today's world where you can go get that kind of quarterback, a veteran presence, more easily than you ever could before, it's good to bring that kind of person in. And maybe it'll be good for the quarterback room, good for the film room, good for leadership, all those kind of things. And we've talked a lot about leadership or lack thereof, so sometimes that matters. I think even a lot of guys pointed to Robbie Ashford as a proven leader, even if he wasn't going to be the number 1 quarterback last season, that his presence made a difference. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they went out and did that regardless of what else happened.
All right, hang out. You want to do another segment? You good?
Yeah, I'm going to let you know that we're going to be pulling up to Buc-ee's. I'm going to go eat my weight in beef jerky in a little while. So I think we can time this out accordingly.
All right, perfect. Now do me a favor. And you're at Buc-ee's. Steal me a T-shirt.
I'll see what I can do.
I don't want you to spend money on me because that's rude for me to ask you to spend money on me. But when no one's looking, just stuff one down your pants and walk out.
All right. I don't want to have to fight that giant beaver, but I'll see what I can do.
All right, Jay Phillips will yap with Jason Moore about early signing day in Carolina football next here on the postgame show. Kale's pushing the buttons. Terry Ford, Jay Phillips here on the game. You know, we talk a ton about Kreger Showrooms, formerly The Nest, because if you're going to do anything with your home, you have to go to The Nest. Have a conversation. Sit down. Set an appointment. The showroom itself, you'll be stunned. And no matter what you're looking for, it is in that showroom. And the folks at Kreger Showrooms can work with your budget and your taste and your vision to make sure you're happy. Why? Because they got like over 70 years of experience in that place. These folks know what's up. So call 803-978-2025. Again, 803-978-2025. Set an appointment, whatever you're looking for, bathroom, kitchen, fixtures, lighting, plumbing. The folks at Kreger Showrooms will set you up and make you happy in your budget. 803-978-2025. In the Vista, Kreger Showrooms. Give them a call. Post-game show. Kale's punching the buttons. Jay Phillips broadcasting live from Buc-ee's. Terry Ford hanging out with you as we go till 6 here on the game. All right, so Are you really just going for the beef jerky? Or are you going to go for, because, I mean, they have the brisket sandwich is really good. They got baked goods that are as big as your head. And you're just going to settle for the beef jerky? Seriously?
Got a bag of beef jerky last time we stopped here. My wife and I did get the brisket sandwich, and we got a pound of brisket as well. So odds are high that brisket is part of the equation. Yeah.
I tell you, who told me about that was Klein. Because, Heath Klein is a world traveler. And
he is, and he likes to drive everywhere, which is insane, but whatever. That's his problem.
So funny. Because him and I would drive 95. I'm going to Baltimore. Heath was going to Raleigh. And Heath would be like, have you stopped at Buc-ee's? And I'm like, I drive by it and I see it. I haven't had a chance to go because you got to go to Buc-ee's.
It's a scene, man.
It is, man.
It's a scene.
And then Heath goes in the great Heath voice of, you got to try the brisket. Now, again, it's not restaurant quality brisket, but for traveling down the interstate and stopping to get brisket, it is fine quality brisket. Now, you can hear him saying that, right?
It's good. Yeah. No, it's good.
It is.
I'm gonna give certain barbecue places, like the Hudson Boys make an amazing brisket. I love the brisket at Home Team. I love the brisket at Midwood. I love the brisket at Big T. Those kind of places that do it right. Sheely's, but I'll give them 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. But I'll give the brisket at Buc-ee's a solid 7.
Yeah, I mean, I was pleasantly surprised how good it was.
Higher.
Yeah.
My wife says she's giving it a higher thumbs up.
Oh, really?
It's good.
So Mrs. Phillips is even going higher on it. Nice. Very nice.
All right. Yeah.
Very nice.
I like it.
All right, so as we sit here with early signing day, again, it's different, Jay. You remember when we just did National Signing Day in February, and this thing was gigantic and crazy, and we had hats and fights and all this insane stuff. And now we have the transfer portal. I mean, and this class isn't a gigantic class. Now, do you think that's just the way it rolled out? Do you think because maybe you want to keep this class size smaller because you're thinking about what you got to do in the portal and it's such an important year in 2026? Do you think there was extra level of strategy on this, or this is just the way it played out?
No, I think you hit it with the latter point there. I think in today's world, for a program like South Carolina that has to be more dependent on the portal, you've got to find that balance of incoming players. And incoming doesn't always mean high school kids anymore. So I think absolutely this is strategic and really honing in on the kids you want from high school this year and finding enough room remaining in January to bring the portal kids in. So I think there's an absolute balance there. And if you could have gone and gotten a couple of more that you knew you could really land, and look, they may miss out, on somebody now too. So, but look, even mighty Georgia is going to miss out on a quarterback. So it happens to everybody, not just those that are somewhat downtrodden right now, like South Carolina, but Georgia, who's getting ready to play for yet another SEC title, just lost a quarterback commit. And from what I understand, Georgia's not going to go get somebody to replace that kid. So, no, I think Shane and his staff know they will be dipping into the portal once again and doing so for some immediate help. Where exactly, who knows, but position-wise, I mean. But, yeah, they're definitely leaving that room to go get kids for next year.
You think about it for a minute, and Gunnar brought this up. I was talking to him in the first segment of the show. I mean, it used to be you go get that 3-star or maybe even 2.5-star developmental kid that you can put in your program, and he's going to be there X amount of years. You can take that spot with him, or instead of taking that spot with him, you can go get a kid in the transfer portal that's got 2 or 3 years of experience who's ready to play and help you win now. And sometimes in different situations, you got to go get the experienced guy out of the portal because he can help you win in the year coming up instead of buying time for that kid you hope can develop.
Well, South Carolina needs to do everything they can, and I say this a little bit in jest, but I'm serious. But you've got to go get a Rocket Sanders, Terry. You've got to go find a Josh Simon again. You need to go find a Demetrius Knight. And you may need other things too. But you've got to go hit again like that next season. And this staff obviously knows that, and they'd love to do that every year. Every school would love to do that. And some of these things just don't work out. And again, as we've talked about, how much of South Carolina's troubles this year really just stemmed, quite simply, but painfully, from a lack of quality offensive line play. And if you fix that, some of those other things fix themselves just because that's the way offense works in football. But, you know, you've got to go hit again. So you've got to get it right, you know. And so I you know, the portal this time around, as opposed to what you're talking about with the old school development, you know, they need those guys that can come in and make immediate impact.
Again, 2026 is a vital year in this program. Absolutely.
It is.
Absolutely.
And for so many reasons. I mean, we'll have plenty of time to discuss it, but it's not just about Shane's job or anything like that. You know, here's Jeremiah Donati coming in, embarking on a huge investment opportunity in the stadium, in the program. Got to get fans to buy in, you know, and it's a sell, you know, and you know, right now it's a harder sell when the product on the field isn't as good. You know, I don't know what the long-term opportunities are for the advertisers that want to put their name on the field. You know, the Blanchard folks are here for now, and I think they're here for a while, but you're going to need more. I mean, next year, Terry, I'm fully expecting uniform patches and helmet stickers and all those kind of things.
Yep.
And whether people, you know, need to take a Pepto when they hear that or not, I'm here to tell you, it's coming. Whether it's next season or not, I'm not sure. Regardless, it is coming, and you got to sell it. And so there's a lot about what's going on with this football program that needs to get fixed in a snap. That's just, again, that's the reality that Carolina football is facing right now, and I think it can be done. You won 9 games last year.
Yeah.
You can do it again. You can do it again. Will you? I don't know.
Well, that's what I said to Bill.
You need to do it.
Yeah, I said to Bill, I go, look, we've seen a bounce back year once already, so we know it can be done with Shane Beamer because, again, we've seen it. And the other part of this, which makes it so big more than just, you know, Shane's future employment, is, you know, you're looking for every dollar now, Jay, as an athletic department because of rev share. And you've seen what BYU has promised in quote-unquote NIL to the football program. We see what LSU has promised in quote-unquote NIL to the football program. This is basically going past the rev share and saying, oh, now we're going to backdoor with wink, wink NIL by getting the money they can get in millions of dollars to supplement the program above and beyond the rev share. This is a financial arms race, man. And if you think rev share will level the playing field, think again.
Right, and South Carolina, it's hard. I've talked about it a bunch. You know, we're not Florida, we're not Texas, we're not a big state like Georgia. You've got Clemson here. It's, you know, that race is harder here than in a lot of places. It's doable. I'm not saying it's, you know, it can't be done, and we've seen it done.
Right.
And I like Jeremiah's vision, and there's as we've talked about a bunch. There's a reason that a man like Jeremiah Donati was hired to do the job he's doing. And I believe he will, but it doesn't mean he just comes in and says, hey, give us some money.
Right. Hi, you don't know me. Let's talk. And bring your wallet.
Right.
Hey, how many times does that work for you? How many times does a guy stop you somewhere?
You know, there's a great Spinal Tap song called "Give Me Some Money," and I wish it worked that way.
I know.
I love that song.
Hey, I'm gonna try that when I leave work. I'm just gonna walk to some random dude getting out of a Beamer. Hey, man, you got some bucks? Can I see your wallet?
Yeah. Well, just go download that Spinal Tap song. Let it inspire you and see what happens.
That's right. Hey, enjoy Buc-ee's,
right,
my friend. Enjoy yourself.
Speaking of inspiration, we are literally pulling up. So I am going to do all of this, and I'll hit you boys back in a little bit. All right.
All right, you do that. All right, good talking to you, pal.
I'll let you know how the experience
Yes,
goes.
I need to know. Call and let us hear about the Buc-ee's experience.
You got it.
Absolutely. All right, Jay Phillips, he'll be back with us here in just a little bit as he's pulling into the Buc-ee's with Mrs. Phillips right now. All right, we'll pop back and we continue our conversation about early signing day. Some interesting things happen nationally in early signing day, and also we'll open up the vault. That's coming up next on the postgame show. Kale's running the buttons. Jay will be back with us in a little bit. It's Terry Ford. We're going till 6 on the game. Oh. All right, we're going to open the vault real quick. Interesting day in history. First of all, we're going to go really old school because this is just a vile stat. On this day in 1956, when Captain Dave was in high school, Wilt Chamberlain, his collegiate debut, his first game in college, he dropped 52 points. First collegiate game, 52 points for Kansas on this day in 1956. All right, another interesting little day, December 3rd, 2000. 4 running backs went over 200 yards rushing on this day in 2000. Mike Anderson in Denver, Corey Dillon in Cincinnati, Warwick Dunn, I believe in Tampa, and Curtis Martin either with the Jets or the Patriots. It was the first time in NFL history 4 runners have gained 200 yards on the same day. It's never happened 3 times in a single day. Anderson rushes for an NFL rookie record 251 yards for the Broncos in their win over the New Orleans Saints. Pretty interesting. And all those guys had some decent moments in their careers. Some longer, stretches of success than others. But Mike Anderson, Corey Dillon, Warwick Dunn, and Curtis Martin all gaining at least 200 or more yards on this day in 2000. There's your vault. Quite interesting. All right, obviously early signing day 2025. We're waiting on what's going on with Landon Duckworth. That's the one that could flip. Plays high school football in Alabama, 4-star kid. Obviously had committed to South Carolina a long time ago, decommitted, then re-upped with the Gamecocks. And then closed his recruitment a couple months ago. As what's recent as yesterday, told Chad Simmons of On3 he's going to be signing with South Carolina. Now it feels like Duckworth might be leaning toward LSU. Lane Kiffin, who was recruiting him at Ole Miss, threw on the old full court press the last couple of days now that Kiffin's at LSU. And Duckworth might be leaning now toward the Tigers. And Jay and I went over it. We talked about it. We see it. We get it. You hope he stays with his commitment to South Carolina and signs. But right now, you know what you get with Lane Kiffin and his offensive coordinator, Charlie Weiss Jr. You know what Lane Kiffin does with quarterbacks. You see the resume. You see what kind of offenses Kiffin runs. And right now at South Carolina, there's a big, gigantic question mark where the offensive coordinator and system of offense and all that stuff. We'll see what happens with Duckworth. Hopefully, like I said, he sticks with the commitment and signs with South Carolina and doesn't flip to LSU, but we'll find out. We'll see. Interesting national story. Chris Henry Jr. is a 5-star wide receiver. Yes, he's the son of Chris Henry, who played wide receiver for the Bengals and died tragically at a young age. Chris Henry Jr. has been committed to Ohio State for a long time. His position coach would be Brian Hartline. Brian Hartline last year was the offensive coordinator and wide receiver coach at Ohio State. And you know, if you keep up with this sort of thing, Brian Hartline, it has become wide receiver U, right? It's just a factory of wideouts that go to the NFL as first, second-round picks, and they ball out in the NFL. So Chris Henry's like, I'm going to go to Ohio State and continue the lineage of great wide receivers who end up being first-round picks. I'm in. Sign me up. Well, funny thing happened. Brian Hartline is now the head coach at South Florida. So now Chris Henry, because Brian Hartline is no longer at Ohio State, now Chris Henry is rethinking his decision. He hit Twitter X, I have not signed yet, still trying to weigh my options due to coaching changes. I just want to make the right decision for my future. Makes sense, I understand. The dude who was going to develop him and groom him into an NFL wide receiver is no longer there. You got to think about what you want to do. Totally understand. That's an interesting national story. And, of course, Jared Curtis, the top-rated quarterback in the country, number 3 overall recruit in the On3 rankings, was going to go to Georgia. All set to go to Georgia. Well, Curtis is a Nashville native, and Jared Curtis, after watching what Vandy did this year, flipped to the Commodores. No, not the singing group. We're talking about Vanderbilt. Yes, Vanderbilt flipped a Georgia recruit. What kind of world are we living in? Wow. That is the biggest national story. And Virginia Tech. Right now, James Franklin is just walking onto the Penn State campus and poaching recruits. He's like, okay, fire me. All right, I'll see you I'll see you early signing day. And Penn State's recruiting class is plummeting because, well, they don't have a head coach. And their former head coach is having a really nice day at Virginia Tech. Guess what? Men's basketball played last night. We're going to look back at that next on the postgame show. Post-game show. Terry Ford, Kale's punching the buttons. Jay will be back with us here in just a little bit. Right now, he's in Buc-ee's. He might not get back with us for a long time. Buc-ee's is cool. I have to admit. You know what it reminds me of? When I was a kid, I remember my dad and I would travel from Baltimore. I have family in Richmond, Virginia. And we would drive to Richmond. And we'd take, basically a lot of 95. And there was a Stuckey's on 95, and we'd stop at Stuckey's. I've never seen anything like a Stuckey's in my life. I was a little kid. Had everything. It was crazy. You could one corner of the place you can get tires on your car. The other side of the place you can get a tattoo. You can go grocery shopping. You can get dental work. I mean, the place was insane. Stuckey's had everything, and we used to always go there, get burger and fries. And I mean, I was a kid. Food was great. I didn't know any better. But Buc-ee's kind of reminds me of a Stuckey's. You can eat, you can shop and get a shirt. You can do all sorts of cool stuff in Buc-ee's. So Jay is in Buc-ee's right now. We'll hear back from him in just a little bit. And we'll also get back to discussing Gamecock football early signing day. Pretty much most of the class of the commitments have signed. There's a few things we've talked about. Landon Duckworth, the quarterback, the 4-star. Right now teetering. LSU is in play there. But South Carolina, they do get pretty much their the first signing was their highest-rated recruit this morning, Darius Gray. Darius Gray was on the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour with Chris and Wes, and we're going to try to maybe play that back for you this afternoon later on. But, Darius Gray right out the chute got his letter signed. And then others followed. Zion Giles, the other high-rated interior offensive lineman, also signing. Aiden Harris, a top 100 defensive lineman, interior defensive lineman, a 4-star. And his brother Andrew, both they signed up. Jazavian Currents, the second highest-rated player in this draft class, the DB from Rock Hill, also has signed up. There's a couple others who are planning to get that accomplished later on today or this evening. But all things look to this class should hold, except for possibly Landon Duckworth. So we'll see where all that goes. And Sequel Patterson, the kid from Fort Mill, the wide receiver, hasn't signed yet, but the word is that will happen either within this signing period. All right, so that's where everything's at with South Carolina when it comes to early signing day. We want to thank Larry and the folks at Firehouse Subs for hosting us and sponsoring us again this year for our early signing day special between 9 and noon today. So we thank them very much for that. All right, South Carolina hoops last night. And, Kale, I might grab a cut from Lamont. We're going to get more cuts from Lamont in the Gamecock notebook at 5:15. But just last night, tough loss to Virginia Tech in overtime, 86-83. Obviously a game you could have won. You just didn't make the plays you needed to. And we'll get to the end of regulation in a minute. But overall, Virginia Tech shot 50% from the floor, 54 points in the paint, compared to only 30 for South Carolina. And look, we've talked about this. It's early. Things can change, and we hope they do. But right now, the Gamecocks just aren't a very good defensive team. Virginia Tech was picking and rolling and ball screening to death against the South Carolina defense. And when you get to the bucket like that, when you're going to the rim and you're scoring 54 points in the paint, it's not just your interior defense. Yeah, your interior defense is not where it needs to be, but your perimeter defense is lacking as well because guys are beating the perimeter dudes off the bounce as well. This team is right now struggling on the defensive end of the court. Their best defender overall is probably Miles Studi. Guess who didn't play last night? Miles Studi. It's just a team that, whether it's want to, effort, communication, just a lack of lateral quickness, this team has got some defensive issues. Again, you scored 83 points, including overtime last night. That's great. And look, you took half your shots from three. 30 of your 60 shots were from three-point range. But you only made 27% of your threes. When you're shooting half of your shots from three and you're landing under 30%, that's just not efficient offense. I mean, inside of the three-point line, you were 19 of 30. I mean, that's over 60% from inside the three-point line, which is much more efficient. Maybe some more attacking the rack would have been an idea last night instead of just throwing threes. And look, Elijah Strong last year. Look, Elijah Strong, first of all, scored 18 and made some nice shots on the interior, where he was 5 of 7, I believe, inside the arc. And Elijah Strong has had some nice performances off the bench for South Carolina offensively, but Elijah Strong, my friend, you should not be taking 9 threes, especially when you only make one of them. 1 of 9 from three-point range for Elijah Strong, and one was the end of the game, Hail Mary Chuck. But, again, that's way too many threes, especially when you are scoring at such an efficient level inside the three-point line. You don't need to be standing out there just settling for threes, especially when you are shooting, coming into the game, 27% from three. Now, again, last year Strong hit 36%, which is a tick above average. But when you're scuffling from the three-point line like Strong is, and you are much better as a scorer inside the three-point line, I mean, I'm not telling you not to take a three, but 9 of them out of your 16 shots is a bit much. South Carolina last night got beat on the glass overall, 37-28, much better in the second half. But again, I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but Elijah Strong plays 25 minutes. He's like, 6'7", 6'8". He's got a little girth to him. 3 rebounds. That's it. Just 3 boards. And, I mean, Eli Ellis, a lot smaller guy, also had 3 boards. Just saying. Guys up front, I mean, Jordan Butler played 14 minutes, had 2 more rebounds than me. Jordan Butler's almost 7 feet tall. That's a problem. It just is. I mean, the bigs have to get, they got to bring it inside. You got to rebound. You got to do a little bump and grinding. You got to get tougher in the lane on defense. You got to be able to try to protect the rim, enforce the paint. On the perimeter, you got to be able to move your feet. You got to communicate. The ball screen defense was a problem last night. Just defensively, this team's going to scuffle. And again, the end game issue, Michi gets the ball, brings it down court. Lamont Paris decides not to call a timeout, which I understand. I get, and we're going to get Lamont's explanation here in a second. Let's get this ready. Give me cut 2 here, Cale, from today. Here's Lamont postgame with Derek Scott and Casey Manning talking about the end of regulation decision not to call a timeout when he had one in his pocket and was holding for the last shot.
But yeah, so then we got a stop. We got the ball down on the last possession in regulation, and I was going to call a timeout, but I saw Michi had bounce in his step, and he wanted it. He looked like he wanted it. He's done it for us before. He looked like he wanted it. So I'm normally a play live guy. I am. I like to play live. I don't want substitutions happening. I don't want somebody switching to zone. I don't want them blitzing the ball screen.
Right.
I just like to play. If you have guys that play, I like to play. And, we just got a little frazzled. We lost the ball. I think we bobbled the ball a little bit, and then just didn't end up getting something.
Look, I mean, I get Lamont totally. End of game, you got the ball. Instead of calling a timeout, letting the defense set itself up and set their strategy, you got them scattered. Go attack. Totally with it. But I I like that idea better if you had a true either bring the ball up the court point guard who can make the right decision with the ball, like a Talon Cooper from 2 years ago, or a massive alpha dog who is going to, who's a bucket getter, a true number one scorer who gets the ball in his hands, he's going to get a shot off. It's one of those two guys. If I got one of those two dudes, I am all for getting the ball in their hands, taking it down court, keep the defense scattered, and go make a play, attack, and win the game. But you don't have either one of those guys. And, Michi has taken last shots before. He's made last shots before. But once Michi kind of got stuck, there's like 4 or 5 seconds, even if you got down to 3 the way you did, Michi's just dribble like he's doing an old school N1 mixtape. And you got 3 guys standing on the left side just waiting for Michi to make a play. You got 1 guy in the right corner, and everything's just, again, stuck. And I'm watching Lamont on the sideline because you can see him, and I'm like, you're going to call your timeout because obviously this thing's discombobulated. Lamont chose not to. And again, if Michi makes a play or Michi gets the ball to Sharma Jams, and Mongolian Mike throws up a 3 and it goes in at the buzzer, we're not talking about anything. But again, the play was discombobulated. And I was wondering, was Lamont going to call a timeout with like 3 seconds left just to try to salvage it and see if you could come in, set up something in the timeout, run it, and get that shot off where at least you have an opportunity, because watching that thing, it wasn't looking good. But you cannot have the ball like that and not get a shot off. You just can't. And on the broadcast, that end of game sequence got crushed. The color analyst whose name escapes me was like, that's like junior high stuff, man. Come on. What are we doing? It was just bad. It was bad all the way around. And then you go into overtime and, you let Ben Hammond get loose for a layup to give Virginia Tech the lead. And, then Michi misses a 3. And, yeah. Then you're throwing up a prayer 3 after Virginia Tech hits 1 or 2 free throws, and you lose a game that you really were in position to win. And I give South Carolina a ton of credit for coming back. They were down 9 with like 10.5 minutes left in the first half. It almost like they were teetering on getting boat raced. But they got themselves together. They chipped away at the lead. They got the lead in the second half finally. The Gamecocks did a fine job of getting themselves in position to win the game. They just couldn't pull the trigger and execute when it was time to go win the game. It's that simple. That was a tough one. Gamecocks dropped to 5-3. Next up is Stetson, which should be a W. It should be. We'll see. But again, the defense has to get shored up. Not just the interior, but the perimeter defense as well. We got guys they've got guys on the perimeter who are going to have a difficult time guarding SEC guards and small forwards. Lamont might have to scheme something up, but again, you're having trouble with that because you're not a really good rebounding team. You start playing zone or some type of zones or whatever you're doing, that's going to leave yourself open to a lot of offensive rebounds. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it all gets better because there are pieces here. This is a much better team than what we saw last year. There's things that have to improve if you really want to get yourself back to the NCAA tournament, though. All right, back to early signing day. We've got our reporter, Kale, roaming the state of South Carolina to give us the latest updates. We'll get to that next. It is the postgame show. Terry Ford, appreciate you hanging out. Jay will be back here soon on the game. We talk a ton about the men's clinic around here. Why? Because they're here to help you as a man. As you get older, things change, and it's not for the good. Whether it's, you don't remember things as well as you used to, or you're not sleeping like you did when you were younger, or you can't get that extra rep or two on the bench at the gym, or when you do exercise, you wake up the next day and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to have to call 911 to pull me out of the bed. Maybe you don't have a, drive in life anymore, and we're talking about any type of drive in life. You just, Call the men's clinic, 803-875-MENS. Set an appointment, tell your story to Dr. Dan and the staff, and they will then see what is the best treatment plan for you to get back to being you again. 803-875-MENS. Make the call. Go see the folks at the men's clinic in South Carolina. What do you got to lose? Get back to being you again. All right, we are hanging here early signing day 2025, talking about it a ton here on the post-game show. Terry Ford, Kale is here punching up the buttons. Jay will be back with us after he spends some time in Buc-ee's. We'll be lucky to hear from him before 6. Once you get into Buc-ee's, man, you lose all track of time. It's like a magical fantasy land off the interstate on 95 there in Florence.
What's your favorite thing to eat there?
See, it's tough because that brisket sandwich is really good. But they have some like pastry stuff that is insane. They got this one thing, I can't think of the name of it. But it's like special to Buc-ee's.
Are you talking about the beaver nuggets?
No, they're good. Don't get me wrong. But there's something else. I can't think of it. It's like a pastry. I've bought it from the pastry section, and I've gotten it twice now, and it's just stupid good, and I can't think of the name of it. I'm blanking on the name of it right now. But it's really good. But that brisket sandwich, I got a breakfast sandwich there, too, that I really liked. And it was like a croissant. Excellent. So what's your deal with Buc-ee's?
Dude, so I'd probably say my favorite things. So, I mean, I've got a granddad that lives in Florence. So whenever I go out to Florence, I'll visit there. And also every year I go to the Myrtle Beach Bowl. That's the only bowl game played in South Carolina, just so I can see a couple of teams play that I've never seen play before. Mm-hmm. And when me and my friends go, every time we go down there, we stop at Buc-ee's on the way, or we stop on the way back. My favorite things are, those, and they sell them like near the registers, I think. But they're wrapped in like the paper. They're like the cones of either the cashews or the pecans.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. I've never tried it. That good?
They're so good. That is that's my favorite thing to get there. That is my favorite thing to get there.
I've never tried that. I'm going to have to snag it next time I'm there.
I always get that, and then I usually go over to the fudge station.
Oh, you have to. I mean, the fudge station.
I get the 6-count one. I get a different kind. Me and all my friends split it.
That's good, man. Fudge is good.
I'd probably say my favorite one is either, because you can never go wrong with the normal. You can never go wrong with that.
No, that's go-to.
The chocolate peanut butter one's good.
Did not try that.
And then the Rocky Road one is also very good.
Well, okay, I'm going to have to open my mind up on that, and also I'll snag one of those cones.
Yeah, dude, they're so good. You will it's like heaven. I don't even know how to explain it. So I used to get them all the time at the Carolina football games, and then I think they stopped selling them in the section I sat in, and then so I rarely see them now, and so it's like every time I go by there by Buc-ee's, I'm able to get them because anywhere else I can't, and it's like I'm addicted to them now.
Buc-ee's rocks.
Oh yeah,
Buc-ee's fantastic. So we'll get a report from our buddy Jay Phillips and his trip to Buc-ee's with the wife here in just a little bit. All right, so back to early signing day. We have our correspondent Kale, who has been scouring the state in the Game Network helicopter. So you got some information. First of all, let's start with Sequel Patterson. What's going on there? The verbal to South Carolina did he do it already? Is it over?
So in the last segment, he was sitting there and he was doing a live stream on Instagram, and I joined it. He was sitting there in his South Carolina stuff. I didn't have the volume turned up very high because I was listening to the show, waiting for you to tell me some cuts or whatever. But he ended it. He did end it, but he did the Carolina sign, and I heard him say, like, Gamecock Nation, I'm excited to be here and everything like that. So I'm pretty sure that was either right before he signed the letter of intent. I think he ended it right before he signed it. But because it doesn't say in 247 that he did sign it, but, I mean, after what I saw on that live video, he's a lock. So
Sequel Patterson is in. We're still waiting for Landon Duckworth. Obviously, what's going to happen with the 4-star quarterback. Did his high school ball in the state of Alabama. Was verbal to South Carolina. Now it feels like the lean is toward LSU. Lane Kiffin working that. So we will see where that all ends up. But that's really the big unknown at this point with this recruiting class for South Carolina. Again, top 20 class in the country. And I'm going to go back here and refresh the class rankings real quick. All right, where are we at? Here we go. Let's refresh the class rankings, see what On3's rankings look like. They still have Texas, Georgia, Bama, Oregon, Ohio State as the top 5. Here's what they have in the SEC. Now, this is the On3 industry rankings for football team recruitment. Very interesting. All right, well, my bad. I just refreshed it.
The suspense is killing me.
The suspense is killing me, too. Southern Cal, Notre Dame, Oregon, Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, Tennessee, Miami, A&M, LSU are the top 10. Right now, South Carolina sitting at 18. Texas Tech, 20. Clemson, 19. South Carolina, 18. North Carolina, 17. Oklahoma, 16. Then you got UW. Washington at 15. Old Jed Fish.
How about Purple Rain in there?
Yeah, Florida State 14, Florida 13, Michigan 12, Texas 11, LSU 10. Then the final roll is A&M at 9, Miami 8, Tennessee 7, Ohio State 6, Bama 5, Georgia 4, Oregon 3, Notre Dame 2, and Southern Cal at 1. Southern Cal spent $9 million on their high school recruiting class, according to ESPN.com.
Man, they're still gonna go 9-3. All that to go 9-3 or 8-4. It's crazy.
You know what's interesting? Carolina's got 14 players in their recruiting class. North Carolina has 40. They're a notch ahead of South Carolina in these rankings at 17. But here's the interesting part. 10 are 4 stars, 30 are 3-star recruits. I find that very interesting. Bill Belichick and his staff, now, look, Bill has 10 4-stars, but 33 stars. So is Bill leaning into the, I'm such a great developer of talent, give me some 3 stars and I'll make them 4 and 5 stars? It feels like that's where he's going. And, again, Bill's a teacher. We'll see if it translates. But 30 of the 40 kids being brought in by North Carolina are 3-star recruits.
I'm honestly very surprised that they still have 40 recruits. Even if they're most of them are 3 stars, I'm surprised they still have 40 commits after the abysmal season they had.
Southern Cal has 35. Again, they paid $9 million for that class. So they have 35 coming in. I'm looking to see if anybody's got more than 40, like North Carolina. 42 for West Virginia, 39 of them.
For West Virginia, huh?
39. Well, again, this is interesting. 39 of the 42 are 3 stars for Rich Rod.
Are they from West Virginia, most of them?
I didn't click on that, but 39 3 stars out of 42. Again, Rich Rod saying, I'm getting people to fit my system that I can develop. And that could be what Bill Belichick's saying. Same thing. I got certain systems. I see a lot of these 3 stars fitting what we like to do. All right, anybody else have more than 42? That's crazy. Now, out of the top 50, 42 recruits to West Virginia, 40 to North Carolina. That's the highest. And then, obviously, like I said, Southern Cal with 35. All right, so if you look at this deal, it comes down to you've got the SEC teams, Georgia, Bama, Tennessee, Texas A&M, LSU, Texas, Florida, Oklahoma, South Carolina. Ole Miss is 25th. They're hanging in there. Missouri, 28. Outside of the top 3, this thing has been now rattled out once everything has been settling so far. Vanderbilt's up to 33rd. Auburn's at 37. West Virginia, Kentucky, rather, has fallen.
Circling back to what you said about the 40 kids that committed to North Carolina, 3 of those kids are in the top 30 prospects in the state right now in South Carolina.
Interesting. Arkansas is down to 57. Kentucky is down to 61, which I do believe is the lowest in the SEC. Seems like it. So before we were talking about how 50 early tabulations, 15 of the 30 best classes were SEC. That's not the case now, obviously, as a lot of this thing is shaking itself out from early projections. So we'll get back to it in the next segment. But yeah, the SEC still has a ton of teams in the top 30, but not as many as it was getting into the day. So we'll get everything shaken out for you. As it seems like now South Carolina has, besides Landon Duckworth, I believe, is there one other verbal that has not signed yet? We'll get into that coming back as we have 2025 early signing day, getting you ready for the 2026 season. Talk about it all day long right here on 107.5 The Game. All right, let's check the traffic real quick. Obviously, we construction like always, whether it's Malfunction Junction or it's I-126 there where Hughie is coming in and out of town, or on I-20. So just avoid those areas. You know where they're at by now. You know if you're heading that way, you're going to sit, and you're going to at some point start to cuss under your breath. So maybe just avoid those. And we'll get you caught up on all the accidents and things going on and the slow traffic in other areas coming up here at 5 o'clock. Weather-wise, a little chilly, but no precipitation right now. High right around 50, but no rain in the forecast as of yet. We'll jump back in here on the postgame show, continue on talking about early signing day 2025, getting ready for the 2026 season on the postgame show. All right, post-game show. Terry Ford hanging out. Kale's here punching buttons as we go up until 6 o'clock. Kale also has a couple interesting early signing day stories we're going to get to just in a few minutes. And by the way, Kale, I believe Jay Phillips is now out of Buc-ee's. Give him a call and let's get him on and let's get a report. Jay is ready to report to us. So give him a holler real quick.
All right, I can do that.
All right, good deal.
I think I can manage that.
I think give him a ring. I don't know. Maybe security's chasing him in the parking lot. I don't know, but let's find out what's going on with Jay.
Hopefully I don't mix up the call button with the company self-destruct button.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. All right. Again, tonight or tomorrow night on our sister station B106, we have Gamecocks women's basketball with South Carolina and Louisville in the ACC SEC Challenge. You can hear it again on our sister station, B106, as we, just like last year, Thursday night basketball for the women will be on our sister station, B106. So you can check that out tomorrow night, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock tip, again on B106. All right, last night the men played, and that was a tough one, losing 86-83 in overtime to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech had lost a couple in a row. They were missing one of their interior guys, a double-double machine. So Tech was down a starter, and they still scored 54 paint points. South Carolina's defense, perimeter and interior, just has to get better. Has to get better. And South Carolina last night, 27 made baskets, only 11 assists. When the Gamecocks are running that offense well, they're moving the rock, they're moving the ball, moving without the ball, making the extra pass, getting the easy, more efficient shots. Last night, 30 out of 60 shots, 30 were just threes. And the ball didn't move as much, only 11 assists on 27 made baskets. But over 60% of their shots made inside the three-point line last night. All right, live from Buc-ee's parking lot. Let's get our co-host Jay Phillips in here. Are you out of there now?
He has arisen.
Yeah, we're out of Buc-ee's. Got some brisket, got an Italian sub. Not going to eat them all at the same time. But,
You're ready to say that's a hell of an appetite, Jay Phillips.
Had to get the brisket. So, but I just wanted something different today, so I got an Italian sub.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anything else? Did you get a little dessert action?
Nah. Didn't have, honestly, like, I'm serious as I smile about this. Not supposed to be in places like that for too long with what I'm going through right now. So I gotta kind of get in, get out, just be decisive and quick. So, doctor's orders for lots of people, especially people that mingle from all around the Eastern Seaboard. You know what I'm saying?
Might be a good idea for you right now, yes.
That's not a judgment. That's not a judgment. That's just,
No, where you're at right now, man, again, this thing called an immune system is not as strong as it used to be.
No. So that's what we're going to do is to boost that up tomorrow before we bring it back down again next week. But no, things are good. But yeah, no, had our Buc-ee's experience. Did not steal you a T-shirt, but I'll do my best. Maybe we'll stop back by there tomorrow. Make no guarantee. But don't worry, we're up and back in a lot, just like you these days. So we'll have another opportunity. I just heard you talking about that basketball team last night. That was the most bizarre, like, final 5 minutes and then overtime. I say most bizarre, but I texted Elijah. I knew he was there, and I still don't know what Michi did at the end of regulation.
I don't think Michi knows what Michi did. It was very bizarre.
And the overtime was good. I say this, and I'm serious. I think Mike Young loves to come to that building and win. Wofford won there, and now Virginia Tech has. That's a nice win for Tech. I don't know how good they are. I just know this, Terry. South Carolina better find a way to get something beyond scoring out of some bigs. Otherwise, I have a real fear of what that conference slate is going to look like, knowing how physical this league is and how well coached players are in this league. We talk about it a lot in sports. The book is out. The blueprint is there. South Carolina just does not. And I was thinking so many times last night as my wife and I were watching the game, and you'll remember this, when we had Derek Scott on in the preseason. We have Derek on a lot, obviously, but we asked him, strengths and weaknesses. And when it came to weakness, he said, I'm really concerned about what these big men can provide defensively and with a real presence down low. And that's when it comes to the teams that Carolina's lost to, the three, power conference teams in Butler and Northwestern, and now last night with Tech. You saw it, Terry. I mean, hey, they don't have bigs that can do a whole lot down low. Exploit it, and it's working. And the SEC coaches will eat that a lot.
I mean, look, you have 54 points in the paint, and your screen and roll defense was not very good. Virginia Tech shoots 50% from the floor. Look, defensively, the interior is a problem, but also, I'll be honest with you, Jay, defensively, that entire team's a problem. Perimeter-wise, perimeter. One of the other reasons why teams are getting points in the paint is they're beating the perimeter guys off the bounce. And, the best defender is Miles Studi, who didn't play last night.
Right.
And on the perimeter, you just don't have a lot of guys who are going to be. Look, you and I have talked about this. I love Eli Ellis' spark, his intensity, his fire. He can find a way to get shots. He's a positive on the offensive end for a freshman, but right now he's a liability on defense on the perimeter, and he's got to be on the court for you in crunch time because he can help you on offense, Jay, but you're going to have to do some stuff to try to figure out a way to hide him on defense. SEC guards are going to give Eli a lot of trouble.
Well, yeah, and he's going to, and look, size isn't always a thing. I saw Devin Downey, run the SEC for a couple of.
But Devin Downey was quick, Jay. Not to interrupt you. Devin Downey was quick.
Yeah, I'm not comparing the two. I don't mean it that way. Other than a lot of people have said, well, he's too short. Well, I'm not going to hold his size directly against him. There's some other things, as you said, that he's going to be deficient in, that he's going to need to work on. And on a night last night too, where Carolina was not great in shooting the basketball, certainly from the perimeter, forgive me, I forget the TV analyst who was doing the game, but he basically mentioned at one point South Carolina is going to have to win this game by just scoring, and because it's not going to be defense. And I just that recipe can work in certain situations. It will not work long term in the Southeastern Conference, and I just don't know how much more coaching and developing they can really do in these final non-cons. You still got Clemson to play as well. It's again, 3 power conference teams. Look, 2 of the games were really tight. Butler ended up kind of beating you, but Northwestern and Virginia Tech, you played. And again, I don't know how good those teams are. I think they're good. I don't know if they're not elite. And Carolina's going to see a few elites soon enough. And that just, what I saw last night in terms of how a coach like Mike Young exploited what Carolina can't do. There's a lot of coaches like him or better in the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, look, Virginia Tech, I mean, they've got the one Euro kid who's going to be a first-round pick in the NBA draft because he's a freakishly big point guard, and he has skills. I mean, you saw it last night. But what Virginia Tech as a team is not going to be as talented as the upper echelon of the SEC. And South Carolina, again, when South Carolina's moving the ball and moving without the ball and running their offense, they can score. We've seen it earlier in the year. So they're going to have to be very crisp and efficient on offense, Jay, to make up for these deficiencies that they are going to have against SEC quality teams. Because they're going to have to outscore folks. That's just the way it's going to be.
Yep. All right, I'm going to let you boys go. We're in some pretty heavy 95 traffic, but I'll hit you again tomorrow afternoon, and I'll give you a full review of the Buc-ee's brisket.
All right, man. Sounds like a plan, my friend. We'll talk to you tomorrow, pal.
Y'all be good.
All right, we'll see you now. That's Jay Phillips. That's Jay Phillips on the road at Buc-ee's. We'll pop back in here, post-game show, get you caught up on some of the early signing day news on the game. Post-game show, early signing day edition. Terry Ford, Jay Phillips was just with us. Kale hanging around as we roll this baby up until 6 o'clock on the game. It's been interesting early signing day. Things besides Landon Duckworth, everything else has pretty much gone to form for South Carolina in holding their small class together. Still a top 20 class in the country. Nationally, there's a couple interesting things. Jared Curtis flipped the top-rated quarterback in the 2026 class, I should say. Flipped from Georgia to Vanderbilt. No, I'm not drunk. That really happened. From Georgia to Vanderbilt. Chris Henry Jr., five-star wide receiver, who has been committed to Ohio State for a long time because Brian Hartline, the offensive coordinator / wide receiver coach at Ohio State, has just taken the South Florida head coaching gig. Now Chris Henry Jr. is rethinking where he might go since Hartline is no longer at Ohio State. So we got some of those things going on. And real quick, Kayla is going to give us an update on two in-state kids who flipped today. So go ahead, correspondent Kale.
Yeah, there was some pretty big flips today. So I'll start with wide receiver, three-star wide receiver Jude Hall. He was number 15 receiver and number 15 recruit in the state of South Carolina, number 18 in 247 Sports Composite. He was the game of the week in the opening week. He was part of the game of the week in the opening week of the high school scoreboard show this year when Christ Church took on Hammond. And he was committed to Memphis, but with the departure of their head coach, Ryan Silverfield, to be hired as the next Arkansas coach, he was offered by Arkansas last night, and this morning when he signed, he flipped from Memphis to Arkansas. Jude Hall is a 6'5 receiver who is 185 pounds. And Terry, during one of the commercial breaks, I showed you a clip that he made where he made a one-handed catch in a playoff game against Powdersville. Arguably one of the greatest high school catches I've seen.
It was that Odell Beckham Jr. kind of one-handed snatch out of the air kind of thing. It was a nice catch. Absolutely.
Yeah. And obviously, he's a pretty big kid.
Yeah, he's large.
He's 6'5" and 185 pounds. I mean, he's kind of almost the height of Nick Harbor, and I'm not comparing them, obviously, but that's a pretty good get for Arkansas, in my opinion.
Again, 6'5", a 6'5", 180, so he needs to eat some cheeseburgers. He needs to hit the school food court at Fayetteville. But yeah, I mean, he's big, 3-star kid, might be a little under the radar. But with physical skills, if he can catch the football consistently, I mean, we saw that was a heck of a one-handed catch. But if he can get open, you throw it to him and he catches it with that kind of size, and he puts on a little bit of weight and does all the things you need to do to get physically faster and stronger and everything, that could be, looking back, that could be a very good pull for Arkansas, getting him away from Memphis because Silverfield left. Yeah,
he's also one heck of an athlete. I mean, he played both ways his entire season. I mean, he played safety as in his entire career at high school, too, and he also returned kickoffs and punts. And then in his final game, they lost in the second or third round of the playoffs to Woodruff in the Upstate. They lost 33-30, but Jude Hall was responsible for 3 touchdowns, and I think he had 150 yards receiving.
All right, so that was a nice little flip. Were there any more state flips before we get to the top of the hour?
Yeah, this one's in Columbia. This is a local guy, and it's a big flip, a lot bigger than Jude Hall. Azel Banaj, defensive back, cornerback at AC Flora High School, right down the road from here. He was committed to Harvard. Now, you got to have some pretty good grades to go play there. Guess where he flipped today?
Where?
Oregon.
That's interesting.
A lot different, complete other side of the country. You go from a Ivy League school to, I'm not saying Oregon's a bad education, but
it's not an Ivy League school.
It's not an Ivy League school, but it is a national prominent brand, and we don't really see many kids from this area in the state go out there that much.
Not straight out of high school.
Yeah, Jordan Birch transferred there from South Carolina, but he didn't go there straight out of high school. So that was interesting to see. But Banaj is the number 16 recruit, 17 composite in the state of South Carolina, 5'11 and a half, 170 pounds, 17th ranked recruit in the state. Again, he's the 64th cornerback in the country. But look at Dan Lanning coming out all the way out here to the Palmetto State looking for some kids to add to his roster.
Interesting poll by Dan Lanning all the way across the country in the state of South Carolina.
Yeah,
well, good for the kid.
Yeah, good for
Good
the
deal,
state.
man.
I mean, it's always good to see kids from the state of South Carolina go to big-time programs. I mean, we're a pretty talented football state. I mean, I feel like I've been saying that for a long time. With the size of our state, we produce a lot of talent.
There are some talented dudes coming out of this state, especially, like you said, for the size of the state. Absolutely. So there's Kayla, our correspondent in the Game Network chopper, going around South Carolina, giving us some news on early signing day. All right, 5 o'clock news sponsored by Integrated Media. Coming up in the Gamecock Notebook, we will talk to Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central, get a recap of early signing day. That's coming up next right here on the postgame show in our final hour on the game in Columbia, Charleston, Florence, and Myrtle Beach. Quick check on the roads this afternoon. We have a few accidents. Jamil Road at St. Andrews Road. Also Patricia Drive at Leesburg Road. River Chase Way near Corley Mill Road as well. And then obviously we have our construction, like we said. I-20 between I-26, exit 64 and 65 at Broad River Road. I-26 between Bush River Road and Old Sandy Run Road. And I-126 between Hugie and I-26. We'll pop back, give you the 5 o'clock news, sponsored by Integrated Media. Lamont Paris's thoughts post-game after the South Carolina loss to Virginia Tech. We'll get to those next. Also, a college football coach is retiring. That's coming up right here on the Integrated Media News at 5 o'clock and 5:15 Gamecock Notebook Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central will wrap up early signing day for us. It's all coming up in the 5 o'clock hour on the postgame show. All right, time to roll the 5 o'clock news here on the game. We will start with Lamont Paris comments post-game last night after the 86-83 overtime loss to Virginia Tech. Again, Virginia Tech, 54 points in the paint, 50% from the floor. They were, I'm trying to add up in my head really quick, they took 36 shots inside the three-point line last night, making 27 of them. That's how efficient Virginia Tech was in the lane. They were 6 of 20 from three, 46 shots, 27 of 46 from inside the arc. They were efficient inside. South Carolina was even more efficient. They shot 60% inside the arc. Problem is South Carolina took half of their shots from three, only made 27%. Also out-rebounded 37-28. Gamecocks were better on the glass in the second half, to be fair. But again, 54 paint points for Virginia Tech. Some defensive and offensive issues for South Carolina, but still had a chance to win this basketball game, had a very bad last possession, couldn't seal the deal in overtime, and lost by 3 to Virginia Tech. Here is Lamont Paris. We'll go with cut one to start off with, Cale. Lamont talking about how the decision-making on this basketball team has to improve.
We did enough to come back, and we just didn't. We have to improve on some decisions. I mean, we're still growing, and I'm sure they'll probably say the same thing. But we did enough to get back and get ourselves in a good position. We led for the second most important part of the game, which is the very end of the game, just not the most important, which was when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, again, the good news is you got yourself back in the game. You were down 9 in the first 10 minutes. You chipped away, and you put yourself in position to take the lead late, which you did a couple of times. But when it was time to seal the deal, you just couldn't get the deal sealed, whether it was the end of regulation or crunch time in OT. You couldn't get the stop you needed in OT. And then the end of regulation, you had the ball and a chance to win, and you couldn't even get a shot off. And the last, 2:20 of regulation, neither team scored. It was the last 2.5 minutes of this game was kooky. But Virginia Tech finds a way to pull the W. Meechie Johnson and Elijah Strong both led the way with 18. Meechie was efficient, 7 of 12 from the floor, really good inside the three-point arc. Meechie was 5 of 6 inside the three-point line in this game. 2 of 6 from beyond the arc. Mike Sharma-Jams he's impressive. Only took 4 shots, but did score 14. 4 of 8 from the floor, 5 of 7 from the line, was 3 of 4 inside the arc. Sharma-Jams, he lets the game come to him offensively, doesn't force a lot. You almost want him to be a little bit more aggressive offensively because there's skills there. You just like to see him get a little bit more aggressive. Because in the second half, Sharma-Jams stepped up and really helped South Carolina get the lead. He had a really nice and one, had a follow tip. I mean, Sharma-Jams did some stuff nice in near the end of this basketball game. You'd like to see him, like I said, get a little bit more aggressive. Again, Elijah Strong, why are you taking 9 threes, bro? I love the fact that you scored as much as you did inside the three-point line, but, I mean, 9 threes? When you're shooting under 30% from 3 and you're killing it inside the three-point line?
I should have had you taking 9 threes.
I might as well. Chase, why not? So it was just a weird night for South Carolina hoops. Let's get back to some Lamont Paris. Here's Lamont talking about his frustrations. Cut 3, Cale.
My frustration lies in not just the fact that we didn't close out, and there were some plays, some decisions, and some performances at the end that affected that. But more frustrating to me was throughout that first half, we were constantly making decisions and doing things that were preventing us from being in a situation that we wanted to. So, I mean, you want to talk about just self-inflicted wounds and just decisions that were different than what we've talked about or worked on. We have to change that, or it's only going to come down just to talent and athleticism. And that's a rough way to live life, is to bet on those. But
yeah, I mean, look, Lamont is very big in the technical part of the game, obviously. He doesn't go out and bring kids in, looking at athleticism and things of that nature, like you can just hear it in that quote. He's looking for guys who can do what Lamont looks to achieve on both ends of the court. And last night, you hear Lamont, just decision-making on both, offensively and defensively, needed to be better. All right, let's get to cut 4, though, talking about Lamont was happy with his team's resolve, even though the decision-making did drive him crazy. Again, South Carolina did come back from 9 down in the first half to take the lead in this game late. They just couldn't seal the deal. Let's hit cut 4 real quick.
But certainly our resolve, our ability to nip and tuck and compartmentalize what's happening at the moment in an attempt to see a goal that's at the end, and that's and it's not insurmountable. I do give us some credit for that. They deserve credit for that. We did a lot of good things. I told the guys, if you don't do good things in our conference, I don't know who you'll beat. So you have to do some good things. We did a lot of good things. We just, we had some self-inflicted wounds that prevented us from prevailing today.
Yeah, I mean, and if you listen to Lamont, no offense to Virginia Tech, because Virginia Tech, 50% from the floor, 54 paint points, out-rebounding you by 9. 18 assists on 33 made buckets. South Carolina only 11 assists on 27 made buckets. But you hear Lamont talk and you watch that game. South Carolina also beat South Carolina last night. All right, a couple more from Lamont. Talking about, first of all, his bigs. Let's get cut 6. The bigs getting bullied again.
We were getting bullied on the glass, and they started a different way. They added some more size into their starting lineup. I think that was probably the intent. They had success with that, and that's the other thing. Some guys got to learn to fight better. That's I can't change that either. I can't call all the teams and say, hey, don't go to the offensive boards real aggressively. They're going to go to the boards aggressively, and you have to fight and get your own.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get aggressive. You got to get to the boards. You got to have some physicality on the when you're rebounding is about want to and hustle, and it's grinding. I mean, again, rebounding, you're fighting. You're fighting for boards. And, yeah, it is positioning and timing and things of that nature, but a lot of it's just want to, hustle, and the grind of rebounding. We said it, not to pick on Elijah Strong. You're that big of a guy, you get 3 rebounds. You got to do better with all of them. Jordan Butler, got to get better on the glass. You're almost 7 foot tall. You had 2 rebounds in 14 minutes. Let's grab another one. Cut 7. Once again, going down this theme, Lamont Paris talking about the bigs not doing their job on the glass. Cut 7.
I'm not dumping on our bigs. This is a statistical fact. It was that one of my assistants said in the first half, our power forwards, centers, had 1 rebound in 34 minutes of play. Okay. Right? I mean, I don't know how to win if that happens like that, right? I mean, so some things have to change. We have to change that, or you're not going to get the results that you want.
I mean, you got physical teams in the SEC, like a Tennessee, who are going to come after you. And you got to be able to hold your own in the paint. You just have to. Or you better be bleeping good in the perimeter. One of the two. And it's tough. It's tough to, if you're not balanced as a basketball team, it's very difficult to be consistently successful, because eventually at some point that big weakness of yours is going to bite you. And one last cut here. Let's get back to cut 5. As Lamont talks about his team's defense versus Virginia Tech. It was a tough night defensively for the Gamecocks.
You know, we tried a couple different ways. You know, again, they have some good players, and you run an action. You know, the ball screen's not going out of business anytime soon because it's generally effective. Right. So what you want to do is make the decision-making difficult enough times, maybe switch some things up, and we found some success in a couple of different things. But the thing that's frustrating to a coach is, again, we say we're going to do this coverage that's called Raider, whatever it is. That's a made up name. And then there's 3 things that have to happen in this Raider coverage, and only 2 things are happening. That's frustrating to the coach. And then the third thing that doesn't happen yields a bucket. Yep. And then the next time down, we get that part sewed up, but the first part of the 3 things in Raider gets us another bucket another way. And that's where we have to get better at performing the things that we said that we practiced over and over and over and over.
And again, that's the frustration of your Lamont Parish. You're practicing things a certain way, and you're not applying what you did in practice in the game for whatever reason. Again, sometimes you practice well, and then when the lights come on, some guys just don't do those things in the game because now you're going up against an opponent that's not in practice. Sometimes it happens. And, you know, coaches don't practice to stink at things. You know, you practice to be able to handle this situation and that, ball screen defense, however you want to play ball screens and pick and rolls. Coaches all have their own ways. And, you know, if you're not applying whatever you're doing in practice to combat ball screens, it's got to drive Lamont Paris crazy. So at some point, maybe you just have to change. I mean, he changed last night how he guards the ball screen in the game. You know, at some point, I guess Lamont's going to have to look at, okay, here's what I got. Here's how we have to defend. I might have to change up some things that I would want to do, but I can't do them with this team defensively. It might end up being like that. All right, next up for South Carolina, they'll take on Stetson before they start moving eventually into SEC play coming up soon. All right, 5 o'clock news sponsored by Integrated Media here on The Game and The Game Network with Terry Ford. Ole Miss Athletic Director Keith Clark disputed several claims made by former Rebels head coach Lane Kiffin, including the timing of when Kiffin was informed he couldn't coach a team in the postseason. Carter appeared today on Super Talk Mississippi, and the AD said Kiffin was announced as LSU's head coach Sunday, had said a lot of things publicly that I'm not sure are totally accurate. Among those is the claim he only learned early Sunday he would not be coaching the team in the college football playoff. Carter said Kiffin and his representatives were told several weeks earlier that coaching Ole Miss in the college football playoff was not possible if Kiffin took another job. The only potential change was if Ole Miss qualified for the SEC title game. But Carter had not decided whether Kiffin would have coached that game either.
I'm still not used to hearing former Rebel coach Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, it's just the whole thing is a mess. Carter also said that Kiffin informed him around 6 p.m. Saturday he would be accepting the LSU job. Carter and other Ole Miss officials worked well into the night on the football staff and immediately targeted defensive coordinator Pete Golding as the Rebels' next head coach. In announcing his departure Sunday, Kiffin wrote that players had asked him to remain as the coach through the college football playoff to maximize performance. Carter said of a meeting between Kiffin and the Ole Miss leadership group, and here's what Carter said, I don't think the way Lane portrayed that meeting was accurate. There was a lot of pushback to him leaving. Begging for him to stay is certainly an overstatement, and our players are starting to show what really happened in that meeting. Several prominent Ole Miss players posted Tuesday night disputing Kiffin's claim on social media about them asking him to stay. Star linebacker, I'm going to mess up his name like I always do. Santarine Perkins reposted Kiffin's message and wrote, that was not the message you said in the meeting room. Everybody was in there, can vouch on this. So this thing, a lot of he said, she said. Kiffin has said several times he respected Carter's decision not to have him coach in the postseason. On Tuesday, he allowed offensive coordinator Charlie Weiss Jr. to come back and be the offensive coordinator for Ole Miss in the college football playoff. Last thing from Carter, we had been talking to Charlie about coming back and calling plays, and Charlie was committed to that from the very moment. Honestly, I think Charlie was put into a bit of a tough spot with the way he was asked to go to Baton Rouge. All right, so there's a little bit from the AD, Keith Carter, at Ole Miss, as this story just won't go away. All right, we'll come back. Gamecock Notebook. We'll talk to Wes Mitchell, Gamecock Central. Get Wes's take on early signing day today for South Carolina. That's next here on the postgame show. Terry Ford and Kale's here. Jay will be back with us tomorrow here on the game. Post-game show. Terry Ford hanging out here. We're going to get Wes Mitchell here in just a minute. Talk about early signing day for the 2026 football season. South Carolina top 20 class. Again, the only issue is a Landon Duckworth deal. Will Duckworth stick with his commitment to South Carolina, or will he flip to LSU? So we'll find out what goes on with that. We'll get Wes in here, get his thoughts on a top 20 class for South Carolina, despite only 14 commits. So we have that coming up in the Gamecock Notebook here in just a little bit. Again, tomorrow night on our sister station, B106, the Gamecock women host Louisville in the ACC SEC Challenge. Again, that is tomorrow night, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock tip on our sister station, B106. Tonight here on the game in Columbia and our affiliate in Myrtle Beach, we will have Carolina calls with Gamecock men's head coach Lamont Paris and Derek Scott. Let's drag Wes Mitchell in here because he hasn't talked to me enough today. How you doing, Bob?
I'm making it. How are you?
Doing all right, man. At least you got some Firehouse subs out of the deal today.
Oh, I got a lot of Firehouse subs out of it.
Say, man. Hey, you'll be eating for the next 2-3 days, bro.
Yeah, I racked up. I will say that. Shout out to Larry Chandler again.
Mm-hmm.
Always the Firehouse subs throughout the Midlands, always taking great care of us, as you know.
And I want to say this. It was my first chance to try those fries. Those fries, on a scale of 1 to 10 or 20s, the fries are phenomenal.
With the sauce. The sauce,
yes.
The sauce puts it over the top.
Yep. I was kind of bummed when you said, I'll take the fries home. I was hoping I was going to steal them if you didn't take them.
Well, yeah, but I was not going to let you get away with it.
All right, so obviously we'll get to the Landon Duckworth stuff in a second. Overall, I mean, South Carolina holds on to the class except whatever happens with Duckworth. Pretty good day overall for South Carolina. I know they didn't get any flips that we know of yet, but how's it going so far, you think?
Yeah, I mean, about what we expected, other than, of course, having to track the potential of losing Duckworth. That one, I would say, is still fluid at this point. You come into today with 14 verbal commitments. Sequel Patterson, literally as we were just going on air, he is now signed as well. Tristan Lewis from Greenwood, he will have a ceremony at his high school that was pre-planned tomorrow, but no concerns there. He's going to lock in. So really you're just at this point, you're waiting on Landon Duckworth, which obviously you, if you're South Carolina, you didn't want to be in that position. You wanted to have everybody locked in. You wanted to maybe add a flip or two. But all things considered, knowing that you were going to always have schools maybe trying to flip your guys at the last minute, I think you'll take it. They're still fighting for Duckworth. We'll see what tomorrow brings. And you got Julian Walker right down the road at Dutch Fork, who, from everything I've heard, continues to be torn on his decision as he pushes his to at least Thursday as well. So you do still kind of have some irons in the fire there if you're South Carolina trying to close out this class.
Wes Mitchell with us from Gamecock Central as we are wrapping up day one of the early signing day period, getting ready for the 2026 college football season. All right, so, and obviously Walker would be a really, really nice get, obviously, for South Carolina. And the idea that he pushed this off for a day has got to make you feel good if you're a Gamecock fan, right? Because there's hope.
Well, there is hope. Man, this thing has, I think, been very difficult to project just because it has changed, I think, a couple times behind the scenes from what we've heard, but also I think Julian has been legitimately torn, and then you add in another layer to this today, which is that North Carolina, who hosted him on a visit in the fall, was like in it, but we really didn't think they were a major factor. We didn't really think that they were a school that could potentially land him. Well, he spoke to Bill Belichick today. Bill Belichick is like personally recruiting the kid and his family and is, of course, I'm sure pushing the NFL angle there. And all of a sudden you start to hear from North Carolina sites and guys that cover that program, hey, North Carolina might actually be a factor here too. So as opposed to getting more clarity on where this one is headed, I think it's getting more and more muddy. So I do know for a fact that they have a state championship game this weekend. So a lot of the preparation this week has been more towards that. I know Julian earlier today was at practice, and basically it was being pushed to tonight, where he and his family were going to sit down and try to, they want to announce tomorrow, but come to some semblance of a decision potentially tonight going into tomorrow morning. And so that's one where it actually could go any of three different ways at this point.
Speaking of something that could go any of three different ways, the last thing I'm reading here on the internet, 'cause it never lies, is Carson Baker, the four-star running back who decommitted from Florida. Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina have been in the mix here. What have you heard about Carson Baker?
Yeah, Texas A&M making a late push there on Baker. That has been in a very, very just what's a good word? Sporadic.
There you go.
Recruitment. I don't know if my brain is functioning right now, but it's bounced around a lot. How about that? And so South Carolina, it really felt like, I would say, guys, Sunday evening, just visited South Carolina. We were hearing like this guy may be in the class, and then Florida tried to jump back in. North Carolina, which is just throwing around an absurd amount of money right now, it seems like, was back involved. And then all of a sudden, hey, Texas A&M is a huge factor. So that is one where, 48 hours ago, I thought there was a decent chance he'd be in South Carolina's class. As we sit here right now, I would be, frankly, kind of surprised if he's in South Carolina's class. We'll keep tracking it to the end, but, just not a guy that I'm maybe tracking as closely as we were before.
West Mitchell Gamecock Central wrapping up early signing day for the 2026 year, basically, here on the postgame show on the game. All right, two quick things for you. Number one, you guys had Darius Gray, you and Chris, on the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. Again, I was there with you. I mean, he's impressive to hear him talk. What's the one thing that sticks out about Darius Gray that makes you hopeful in the future, besides the fact that obviously he could be really good on the field? Let's talk about some of those off-the-field traits.
Yeah, man. I mean, he's a leader. I think this guy's going to be a fan favorite. I think, Beamer has talked about this, and something I've heard quite a bit about behind the scenes is that South Carolina realizes they were lacking kind of player-led leadership this year. So part of what they want to do this offseason is to get older, either by keeping the right guys in the program or adding from the transfer portal. But I think when you look at your high school guys, there are some natural-born leaders in this group. Darius Gray is one of those guys. Obviously is mature beyond his years, as you heard today. He's been like that from the moment he stepped on the recruiting radar. You can tell he's just a good kid from a great family, and just carries himself, very, very wise for someone his age. So I like that off the field. I also love guys that excel at multiple sports, and something Beamer talked about in the press conference today. Darius Gray, an exceptional basketball player as well. He's not the big kid who's just going to go out there and plug up the paint and doesn't really know how to play basketball. He is a skilled basketball player as well. And it reminds me a little bit, different position, but T.J. Sanders, who went to South Carolina, is now in the NFL at defensive tackle, was just a very fleet of foot basketball player. And whenever these kind of jumbo athletes, either interior defensive linemen or offensive linemen, are also able to run the court and just be agile on a basketball floor, I think that translates very, very well to the football field. So, I mean, he was highly recruited, highly rated for a reason. Gamecock's got a really good one in Darius Gray.
All right, my man, you're off the hook. You can go lay down, eat some fries, whatever. You're done.
All right, boys. I appreciate y'all. Have a good one, okay?
Hey, I appreciate you, Wes. Thanks, man. We'll see you now. All right, it's West Mitchell Gamecock Central, part of our coverage today, 9 to noon, sponsored by Firehouse Subs, as we covered early signing day. I mean, it's technically 2025, but it's for the 2026 football season. All right, drive around the SEC. We'll get you caught up on everything going on from high school football recruiting to college basketball. That's next here on the postgame show on the game. All right, let's check the traffic around the Midlands. We have stop-and-go traffic, I-26 westbound between Sunset and St. Andrews. That's between exit 110 and 106. Accidents, Brickyard Road near Striron Court. Also, I-77 northbound between Garner's Ferry Road and Decker Boulevard. River Chase Way near Corley Mill Road. State Highway 77 at Prince Creek Parkway as well. Again, construction is there. It's slow in the areas. It's always slow. I-126 between Hugie and I-26. I-26 Bush River Road, Sandy Run Road between those two exits. I-20 between I-26, exit 64 and 65. Up next, drive around the SEC. We'll hear from Shane Beamer. He spoke today, early signing day. We'll get a couple thoughts from Shane about some topics, and we'll look around the SEC as well. All right, we'll drive around the SEC. We'll start, Kel, get some cuts from today from Shane Beamer. Did hit almost an hour, Shane talked, early signing day presser. We'll grab a couple things that are interesting. One there, I want to make sure I get the cut for you that Dave has on the board. By the way, Dave, nice job cutting these up for us. Want to go to the one, I guess it's cut 21, Cale, talking about Lenora Sellers and Dylan Stewart, Nick Harbor, being back next year. Again, that's cut, I believe, 21.
No, it absolutely is, and that's what I've conveyed to Lenoris, Dylan, Nicholas Harbor, Brandon Cisse, Jalen Kilgore. I mean, there's a lot of guys that have NFL decisions that they can make. I mean, that's a few. There's anybody that's been in college football for 3 years has the ability to go to the NFL if they want, but certainly those guys are guys that have decisions to make, and you know, I don't want to rush them, but certainly I've told those guys that the quicker, and I've told their families when I've talked to them, the quicker that they make a decision, the better it is for all of us in regards to hiring offensive coaches. They want to know, is Nicholas Harbor and Lenora Sellers, am I going to be coaching them if I come to South Carolina? So the quicker I can tell them yes, the better that is for all of us, this entire program. Same thing from a, you know, defensive standpoint as we go down the road with the portal on offense and defense. Guys that want to come here and play, they want to know, you know, who's going to be there with them. So, yeah, I want everybody to make the right decision for them, Phil, when the time is right. We're not pressuring anybody. Those are conversations that I've had with those guys leading into this week. Those are conversations that I've had with those guys this week. I'm not going to give you my deepest, most inner feelings, but I do know this. Those are all, if you talk about Dylan and Lenore specifically, those are great young men, and Nicholas too, that really believe in what we're doing, and my conversations with them are they're extremely excited about what this team could be in 2026, and they're a big part of that. There's no question, and I don't think I know there's no sense of I'm not really sure South Carolina's where I want to be. It's them making the best decisions for them and their families and their futures, and my conversations with them and their families have been awesome. Along with, you know, agents that they have, and we want them to do what's best for them, and we've got to do what's best for our overall program. There's no question about it, but I think all those young men, they believe in what we're doing here. They know what kind of team we can have in 2026. They're extremely disappointed about what we did in 25, and they're extremely hungry about 2026. That doesn't mean that I'm saying they're coming back, but I know if they don't come back, it's not going to be because they're unhappy or don't believe in the direction of where we're headed. That's for sure.
There's Shane, especially discussing the guys who can go off and roll to the NFL draft. Dylan Stewart can't. Obviously, Dylan Stewart's played 2 years. Dylan Stewart can go in the portal and go somewhere else to play college football. But Dylan Stewart is not obviously eligible for the NFL draft. He will be after next year, whether he plays at South Carolina or somewhere else. And obviously, you hope he stays here at USC. Last year, remember Dylan Stewart, they did the negotiation NIL deal. Dylan Stewart came back for year 2. Dylan Stewart's he's had some injury issues this year. He's also had some double and triple teaming issues this year as teams have said, we're not letting Dylan Stewart kill our quarterback. So I'm probably guessing Dylan Stewart had a frustrating 2025 from a personal performance level, obviously a team performance level. So we'll see what happens with Dylan Stewart. You know, Cisse, Kilgore, Lenoris, Nick, they all can go off to the NFL draft or come back with a year of eligibility left. So we'll see. Look, Brandon Cisse has been, and these are early mock drafts, man. We got about 100 mock drafts to go till we get to the real draft. But Brandon Cisse is getting some smoke about being a first-round pick, lower first round typically. I've seen him in the middle of the first round, which was like, okay. I think I could see Cisse getting drafted at between 20 and 32. I feel like watching Cisse play this year, right now, I feel like he'd probably be a solid slot corner in the NFL. I don't know if he can play boundary corner, but he could play in the slot. And he's played in the slot and the boundary at South Carolina. And obviously, Nick, we saw, Elijah and I were looking at a couple mock drafts a couple weeks ago, seeing Nick Harbor, like, projected fourth roundish. Now, again, Nick started to get some stuff going late in the year, and with the freakish speed, I mean, look, think of Nick Harbor running the 40 at the combine. That might be scary.
The last 2 years, he's played his best ball as the season's gotten closer to the end.
Yep, just like last year. You are correct, sir. Ding, ding. And look, just think about Harbor's physical skills and abilities and what we've seen, what you saw him do it near the end of the year. I could see a team or teams looking at him in the third round saying, look, we take this cat in the third round. He's got a ton of upside. He's got speed for days. He got much better at catching the football, still has to work on the route tree and some of the natural instinctive things you do as a wide receiver. But when you look at the physical ceiling of Nick Harbor and the fact when it was thrown to him, he started catching it much better as these last 2 years have gone along. I could see Nick maybe think about it, or the flip side of that is this: do you come back and put a more consistent year together to go with the explosive plays you have now shown and move up the draft board after next year? I mean, that's something Nick's going to have to think about. Look, I'd love to see them all come back. It'd be fantastic if South Carolina could bring all those guys back. Jalen Kilgore, going into the year, was looked at as a first-round pick by some folks. Jalen Kilgore, I know there was times he wasn't 100% this year. Jalen Kilgore did not have as good a season in 2025 as he did in 2024. And it does affect his draft stock, I think. Is he still a guy that could go in the second or third round? Sure. But there was a lot of sniff about Kilgore being a first-round pick that is not there now that I've seen. So we'll sit back and watch. You know, we've talked about Lenoris ad nauseum about what he'll do. And I still think there are teams that will draft Lenoir Sellers in the first round on his traits and his upside. And they're going to look at this year. Some teams, not all teams, some teams are going to look at this year. Lenoris's regression was due to a terrible offensive line, a head-scratching offensive system, and play calling that left some people like numb. I think there are going to be teams that look at what happened with Lenoris this year as more of a South Carolina thing than a Lenoir Sellers thing. But there are going to be some teams that look at some of the, the processing issues and some of the other things that went on this year with Lenoris, and they might go, I don't know if I'd take him in the first round. But it only takes one to love you. And if there are, let's say, 4, 5, 6 teams that where Lenoir Sellers gets the intel that they would take him in the draft somewhere in the first round, he'll probably go. If the intel isn't what they hope for, that's the chance Lenoris could come back. We'll see. I don't think he transfers to another team. I could be dead wrong there. I don't think that's the third option that has popped up. I don't think that happens. I just believe either he comes back to Carolina or he goes to the NFL. So that's what those guys, the decision-making those players will have. We'll see where that goes. All right, today, early signing day, the SEC, very well represented. Georgia at number 4, Bama at 5, Tennessee at 7, A&M was at 9, LSU 10, Texas 11, Florida at 13, Oklahoma at 16, South Carolina at 18. Then you had Ole Miss at 25, Missouri at 28, Mississippi State at 32, Vanderbilt at 33, Auburn at 37. 14 SEC teams ended up in the top 40. The two that were outside of it, both had lost head coaches and plummeted in these rankings. Kentucky and Arkansas. Kentucky finished the worst in the conference at 61. Arkansas was 57. So that's the way all that broke itself down. And this the SEC ACC challenge that has been going on, day one was yesterday in the SEC. It was, remember last year the SEC dominated this competition. Yesterday, Duke, Florida was a hell of a basketball game. Duke won at Cameron Indoor 67-66. Tennessee somehow lost at Syracuse 62-60. North Carolina beat Kentucky 67-64. Virginia Tech edged the Gamecocks in overtime. Oklahoma beat Wake. A&M over Pitt. Miami beat Ole Miss. Georgia thumped Florida State. And Notre Dame beat Missouri. So not a great first night for the SEC this year in this challenge. All right, we will pop back. Look at a little wagering angle. I mean, Jay's not here to fight the internet, but we'll look at some of the wagering stuff going on tonight and a couple of coaching notes from college football next as we wrap up the post-game show on the game. Like we said, no Jay to be Jay versus the internet, but we will look at some of the, from a wagering perspective. A couple of games real quick. In the SEC, the SEC ACC Challenge continuing on. Louisville goes to Arkansas tonight. Louisville, 2.5-point favorite. Louisville's undefeated. Arkansas is 5-2. Arkansas hasn't lost at home. I think the Razorbacks will find a way to eke it out and cover. Alabama hosting Clemson tonight. Alabama, 10.5-point favorite. This is going to be interesting. How does Clemson hold up against Bama? Because, again, Bama, when it comes to tempo, 8th in the country. Bama wants to play fast. Clemson wants to play slow. They are 301st in tempo. If Clemson can keep it to a slower tempo and play more of their type of game, they'd have a chance to cover the number. I'm going to take Bama to cover the 10.5 at home against Clemson. A couple other games here real quick. How about Vanderbilt being 17th ranked in the country and undefeated at 8-0, hosting undefeated SMU? Vandy's a 10.5-point favorite. I'll take Vandy to cover.
Is Vandy an everything school now?
Vandy's insane now. It's a sports juggernaut.
Who would have thought?
I know. How about Vandy?
Yeah, it's
interesting.
It's like that that clip of Paul Rudd where he's like untwisting the hot sauce bottle on that hot thing. So he's like, "Look at us! Who would have thought? Not me."
It's insane. Again, the world has just gone whacked. All right, so that's a couple of the games in the ACC SEC Challenge to take a look at from a wagering perspective. All right, Chris Kleinman today announced his retirement, the head coach at Kansas State. Kleinman, a phenomenal career, obviously, at North Dakota State, where he won 4 NCAA championships in 5 years. At Kansas State, 20 games over 500, 9 games over 500 in the Big 12. Won 9 games twice, won 8 games on 2 different occasions. This year, Kansas State slipped a bit to 6-6. Only one losing season, that was COVID. A 4-6 in 2020. A lot of the smoke about this job will be the offensive coordinator at Texas A&M, a former Kansas State quarterback. Colin Klein will be in line to get this gig.
That guy wasn't horrible. He wasn't horrible when he played there.
No. Colin Klein, they had a nice little run at Kansas State when Colin Klein was the quarterback. And Colin Klein
was a stud.
He has really, really pushed himself up when it comes to being head coaching material of what he's done at Texas A&M as an offensive coordinator this past year. Klein he's been coaching for a bit now since he stopped playing. So Colin Klein, according to a lot of sources, will become the Kansas State head football coach. Probably after the college football playoff is my guess. Also coaching news. We talked about this earlier regarding Chris Henry Jr., the 5-star wide receiver. He doesn't know if he wants to go to Ohio State or not now because the guy who recruited him a ton, Brian Hartline, Ohio State's offensive coordinator / wide receiver coach, has now become the new head coach at South Florida. Look, if I'm South Florida, sure. Alex Golish, who was there and just left to take the Auburn job, was an offensive coordinator at Tennessee under Josh Heupel. Now, if you're South Florida, take a swing at another OC from a school with a successful offense, a Power 4 school in Brian Hartline. Hartline, a phenomenal wide receiver coach, excellent recruiter. This year, as the offensive coordinator, Ohio State's offense was cooking. Julian Sayin. The quarterback got better every week. Obviously, high-level wide receivers in Smith and Tate. And this was coming for Brian Hartline. South Florida, I say thumbs up. Go for it. Good get. We'll see if Brian Hartline's any good as a head coach. We'll find out. But this guy was trending in this direction. And look, you're South Florida. I'm not trying to be mean. You had success with Alex Golich. Try to build on it with another guy that's looked at as being in line for a head coaching gig. So Brian Hartline will take over at South Florida. This was interesting, and we'll leave on this note here in a second.
Group of 5 teams can't have anything nice nowadays.
Yeah, they can't keep them because by the way, if Hartline goes there and tears it up, what's going to happen?
He's going to get hired as a head coach at a Power 5 program. I'm sorry, I'm calling it the Power 5.
Power 4.
I'm sorry, I still count Washington State and Oregon State as Power 5 programs in my opinion.
At Pac-12, baby.
Exactly.
By the way, this is very interesting. 2 Steeler legends James Harrison and Ben Roethlisberger have both thrown this out there. Ben Roethlisberger and James Harrison both said that the Steelers should move on from Mike Tomlin. And Ben Roethlisberger suggests that maybe Tomlin would be a good fit for the vacant Penn State job. So basically, ready, here's Ben Roethlisberger. Coach, I want you fired, but I've got a job for you. Very interesting.
UAB is looking for their head coach, and they have a LinkedIn application on there.
It's too good. Hey, Cale, nice job. Jay, nice job. Appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed Bucky's. Terry Ford postgame show. Thanks to Wes also for jumping on. We'll do this again tomorrow in the game.